Hi, Mark here. It is Monday, January the 5th, just after 10 a.m. Eastern, just after 3 p.m. GMT. US session well underway now and going into the after and later portion of the European session. Following the weekend's dramatic events in Venezuela, US attacked Venezuela and captured the Premier Maduro and his wife, who are now in New York awaiting trial. And obviously, the markets had a sharp response and reaction. Very interesting to see the way the US dollar has reacted. Initially, got a gap up to start when trading opened last night, and then US dollar strength, demand for US. And we saw from support at 98.27, resistance at 98.59. US dollar strengthened during the Asian and European session, but all those gains had been given up. We've seen a turnaround from strong US to weak US, and now you see the small red candlestick and sellers looking to test this support level right now. We'll see whether that continues through the US session. If we see more uh, dollar weakness, US dollar being sold off, I'll zoom in on the hourly. And there you can see how initially strong US dollar up to that resistance level now being sold off, and sellers of US of the index going to test the support at 98.24. Let's have a look at the majors and the how that has developed following the Venezuelan attack over the weekend. To start with, this was a solid red candlestick, selling euro, buying US dollar. US dollar strength initially, as we saw on the index, but you can see here as well, the dollar has given up those gains. You see the wick left behind, and now just still a small red candlestick, but certainly euro fighting back and US dollar weakening as the US session gets underway. We'll see that on the hourly. There you see support at 116.59, and you can see resistance at 117.11. And that's the level that buyers will be looking to test on the upside if we see a continuation of US dollar weakness. Let's have a look at the pound against the US. Pound's been very strong against the US. US didn't strengthen to the same extent against the pound. Small wick following the open, but strong data out of the UK, and pound is rallying against a weak US dollar for now. I've got support at 134.14 and resistance at 134.82. Buyers looking to come up and test that $1.35 level. So strong pound, weak and weak US dollar as the US session unfolds. Let's have a look at the US against the yen. Yeah, for a brief time, we had strong US dollar. You can see resistance of 157.29. It's now a red candlestick that's selling US, buying yen, sellers of US dollar, buyers of yen, looking down at the 156.41 support level. And then the US against the Canadian. US started strong against the Canadian, as we saw on the index, against the euro as well. Against the Canadian, I've got support at 137.39, but you can see resistance up here at 138.16. That was a full green candlestick. A bounce down off this resistance level that's selling US, buying Canadian dollar, US dollar weakness like we're seeing across the board, all the way down. Still a bit of a green candlestick left. So US dollar still winning on the day, but certainly sellers in control right now, and sellers looking down at the 137.39 support. If you look at the hourly, there you can see right now, selling US, buying Canadian, sellers looking down here at this 137.39 support level. So we saw on the index and on pretty much against all the majors other than the pound. We saw strong US dollar to start, US dollar giving up those gains now that the US session is underway. We'll see whether that can be maintained if we continue to see weak US dollar or if there's another turnaround going deeper into the US session. We have our resistance support levels to work with. Good trading, and I'll see you at the end of the day.